Hi guys, welcome back to IELTS with Sagar at eZone. I received some comments from students that they needed help with the bar diagram of IELTS, and here I am today teaching how to tackle with bar diagrams if you get one on the exam day. So let's get started. The question that I picked for today goes something like this. The chart below shows the expenditure of two countries on consumer goods in the year 2010 in terms of pound sterlings. So if you have a look at the diagram, you will see on the y-axis we've got figures, amount in pound sterlings, which ranges from 50,000 to 600,000, and on the x-axis we've got consumer goods, cars, computers, books, perfume and cameras. The red block represents France, whereas the black one represents UK. So we've got two countries, 5 different consumer goods, and we've got amount that they spent on each type of good. To me, planning is a lot more important aspect of the writing. Be sure that you have a concrete plan before you start writing anything. So as you can see here, I've got 4 paragraphs. That is how I normally like to do my writing tasks one. I don't want to stick the overview with introduction, so I leave it separate at the end, but you can do it if you wish to do so. So introduction, as you all know, is a very simple paraphrase where synonyms must be used if possible. Paraphrasing is indeed critical, and your introduction must answer all the WH questions that may arise. So let's try to paraphrase this particular question and see how it goes. So the chart below, I'm going to replace that with the bar diagram. So it makes sense? It does, I believe. So the bar diagram compares the expenditure of UK and France on some consumer goods in the year 2010. So this is a good introduction, I would say, but it's not good enough because paraphrasing has not been done completely. Yes, I used a couple of synonyms here and there, but still the structure has stayed the same. You need to be able to demonstrate that you can use synonyms and at the same time you can paraphrase the question. So let's give it one more try. So we can say now the bar diagram compares the amount of money spent in the year 2010 by the citizens of UK and France on 5 different consumer goods. Now by doing this, I have achieved the requirements of introduction. I have used some synonyms, I have paraphrased it properly, and I have also answered all the WH questions. For the first section of the body paragraph and for the second section as well, I've listed a few words here, as you can see, which can be handy in terms of lexical resource and getting your marks up. So let's go back to our planning stage. As you can see, I've planned 2 paragraphs for the body section, and in those 2 paragraphs I'm going to divide the information that I will report. So the first paragraph is going to talk about cars, camera and perfume. What's the reason behind this selection? This is pretty important for you to understand. Cars have the highest expenditure made on both the countries, while perfume reflects the lowest for UK, and then cameras reflect the lowest for France. So this is the reason behind me putting these 3 information together. And then on the other paragraph, I'm going to talk about computer and the remaining item book. So this is how I want to structure my essay. So once you have your structure ready, let's have a quick plan about the overview paragraph. So it's the last paragraph. It can indeed begin with a simple starting word like overall, comma. So here now you need to find a trend. You don't want to be telling about the highest and the lowest stuff in your overview paragraph because it is already done in the body section. You don't want to sound repetitive. So instead of repeating the same thing, I am going to look for a pattern here. So if you have noticed, UK has more expenditure on cars, books and cameras. But for the other 2 items, France has more expenditure. So I am going to utilize this information to construct my overview paragraph. Let's start by constructing the first paragraph of our body section. So like I mentioned in my planning, I'm going to talk about the highest, which was car for both the countries. So I'm going to try and construct a comparative sentence that also talks about the main feature, the highest expenditure. Okay, so let's begin. In both the countries, car expenditure was the highest, with France having an expenditure of 500,000 pounds sterling, whereas expenditure on the same in the UK was 50,000 more. So while doing this sentence, I kept a couple of things in my mind. I wanted to highlight this feature, but at the same time, I wanted to make it sound comparative. So this is how you construct your opening sentence. So let's move on to the second sentence. So since I've talked about the highest, now I'm switching to the lowest. I'm going to use a connective on the contrary, which means on the other hand. So on the contrary, the lowest expenditure made by the people of UK was on perfume, which had a figure of nearly 140,000, while the lowest in France was for camera with a figure of 150,000 pounds sterling. So this is my second sentence, which once again shows the main feature, lowest for both the countries. And then I'm going to add one more sentence here to try to show a relation. It is interesting to note that the expenditure in France for cars was more than double compared to the expenditure for or on perfume. So this is how you establish a relation between two variables or the two pieces of information that have been given to you. So let's move on to the second paragraph of the body section now. So what I've got to cover now, books and computers. So try to see the plan that I made before and see if you can trace something out of it. So if you can come up with some relational figures, or if you can come up with some differences, sums, they are always handy because your job is to compare, establish relationship between things. So let's start constructing the second paragraph. Here I'm going to start it off with the word furthermore so that it relates back to the previous paragraph. So we can do it in this way. Furthermore, in terms of computers, the people of UK had an expenditure of 350,000 pounds sterling, which was 25,000 less compared to the expenditure made by the French people on the same. So this is an elaborated sentence which still maintains that comparative tone. Now I'm going to construct one more sentence which reflects or talks about the books. So it could be something like this. So in terms of the expenditure made on books, the two countries, France and UK, had a difference of nearly 100,000 pounds sterling, with the former having a figure of 300,000. So this wraps up your body section, should have good enough length, and then should get the job done. So for the last paragraph, overview part, we are going to use what we planned before. So remember, we said we were not going to talk about the highest or the lowest. Instead, we were going to take a trend, create a counter trend, and use that to wrap up the short report that we just constructed. So it could go something like this. Overall, France spent more money on perfume and computers, while for the remaining three consumer goods, UK had higher expenditure. So this particular sentence gives you a balance. I have included all 5 consumer goods given to me. I did not take their names, but still it gets the point. And then I have also made a comparative tongue between the two countries that were given to us in the question itself. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you will find it helpful. The whole script of this particular task can be found in the description down below. Do make sure you study it from there if you found the video a bit difficult to follow. And thank you very much once again. Do make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. I'll see you in my next video.